now, the scope will get bigger, and then it will happen to you, and then you'll have a problem with it.
I think also you're conflating legal American citizens with people who came here illegally. We do this all the time in these debates. And I think what the administration is trying to do is be as aggressive as possible at deporting different kinds of populations. One, people who've committed heinous, violent crimes. Number two, people that were violent before they came here. Number three, anyone who came here illegally. I mean, look, I'm sorry, but if you came here illegally, no matter how well-intentioned you were, there's probably a decent chance you're going to be sent back. And that's what the administration clearly communicated to the American people in the election. They overwhelmingly voted for it, and it's not particularly a controversial matter.
Scott Jennings schools a far-left Democrat lawyer on Donald Trump and immigration. Folks, I think you're going to like this. You know, something I've noticed about a lot of these attorneys, or whatever you want to call them, they are so arrogant and full of themselves, and 90% of the time, they are left-wing. They always argue with this authority of, oh, this is the law. You know, I'm a lawyer, so when I say it, it's right. And they're really just redressing partisanship and political ideology as some kind of objective rule of law. It's really quite crazy. So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. It's going to be fun. But first, do me a huge favor, folks. Like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. And as always, Patriots, I'm your host, Arian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
We're sitting here saying that they can grab somebody like Abigail Garcia, who was not supposed to be deported, deport him to a prison.
Do we know that he was not supposed to be deported?
And then when they admit that they did it by accident, they say, oh, it's too late. We have no jurisdiction now. We can't do anything about it. That's not fair. And it can happen to anybody. And if we don't stop it now, the scope will get bigger, and then it will happen to you, and then you'll have a problem with it.
I think also you're conflating legal American citizens with people who came here illegally. We do this all the time in these debates. And I think what the administration is trying to do is be as aggressive as possible at deporting different kinds of populations. One, people who've committed heinous, violent crimes. Number two, people that were violent before they came here. Number three, anyone who came here illegally. I mean, look, I'm sorry, but if you came here illegally, no matter how well-intentioned you were, there's probably a decent chance you're going to be sent back. And that's what the administration clearly communicated to the American people in the election. They overwhelmingly voted for it, and it's not particularly a controversial matter.
He says that's not fair. I'll tell you what's not fair. What's this guy's name? Dante Millis. I'll tell you what's not fair, Dante. It's that illegal immigrants waltz on into America, sometimes get captured, get let out anyways, and then they go and rip off the taxpayer. What about American citizens who are getting screwed by this awful economy, rising housing costs, all right? They also come in, and guess what? They make labor less valuable because they're willing to go do jobs for prices that Americans and wages that Americans are not willing to take. That's what's unfair. Also, Trump has every right to deport these illegal immigrants, or as I like to call them, illegal aliens. And doing so under the Alien Enemies Act, as the Trump administration has started doing, is totally correct and acceptable. Okay, and then people say, oh, we're not in a time of war. That's not okay. Well, guess what? There is an invasion, and there's a provision in the act that allows the president to take action against non-citizens if there is an invasion. And an invasion it is. And don't listen to the gaslighting leftist media on what an invasion is and isn't. Okay, we had 10 million people come in illegally during the reign of terror that we call the Joe Biden presidency, or reign of senility. I don't know. Take your pick. Okay, it's an invasion, and there's nothing wrong with calling that. And thank God that the Supreme Court made some rulings this week that were in Trump's favor, and they were totally correct. One of which was on firing federal workers, because unlike, a president should have the ability to control the federal government. That's kind of his role. And this whole idea of a bunch of deep state bureaucrats or, activist judges suddenly striking down a Trump firing and saying, no, you're not allowed to fire these people. No, let them leech off the taxpayer. Ridiculous. So the judges ruled the SCOTUS ruled in Trump's favor with that. But also, they said, hey, you can continue these deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. Now, let's watch Scott Jennings talk about this a little bit more.
On the court in general, the reason conservatives in the White House are so happy about these rulings is because they let the president be the president. And the big complaint from this White House and from the Republicans is you're out here sharing the powers of the presidency with hundreds of district court judges potentially all over the country. And you have these activist judges trying to restrain what they see are the rightful and legitimate powers of the duly elected president. So these rulings are significant, and letting the president manage the executive branch on who can work there, no brainer. So this is a good day for the rule of law. And if you believe in the power of the presidency, It's a great day.
Surprise, surprise. The left cannot accept that the courts ruled in Trump's favor and did so in the correct way. And I say that because oftentimes courts can rule not very constitutionally, frankly, but neither here nor there. That's a different discussion. But of course, these leftists on the Senate panel can't stop pissing and moaning about Donald Trump getting the rightful ruling. Let's watch.
They did not rule on the use of the law. They
didn't
just
address
said,
it at all.
wrong court.
But they're
go
going
a
to keep
different
using
court.
it, right?
Until
it's
the
challenged.
next challenge.
Until it's
Right.
challenged.
So like when we wake up in the morning, they're going to keep using it, yes?
No.
Well, no,
and-
because now they have due process.
But the administration will continue to use the law as a justification for deporting people, yes?
But nobody goes anywhere, right? Because now
Yes,
the
absolutely.
detainees have the option to.
So let me just ask one more
they get
time.
notice
When we
and
wake
they
up
get
in the
to
morning,
challenge it.
they will use the law as
But it won't do
justification.
They're not using the law.
So you can be
They
cute and
haven't-
say that they can
haven't
just kick
turned the
people
law.
out of the country, but that's not what the court said. And in fact, the court
Right.
said these
So they're
people
gonna
are
keep using the law.
entitled.
So they're
They're
gonna keep using the
entitled to their day in court.
Do you need them to say no?
I just
Because I
want to
think that's
know.
what he's
I
saying
just
is
want to
no.
The
know
court hasn't ruled on using
if the
the law yet.
administration can use the law more. The answer is clearly yes.
You gotta love them coping and seething about the sad state of affairs that it is for the Democrats. Now, what I will say is Donald Trump's deportations, currently, they're not insanely high. So there's a caveat there. The president's administration must step forward and really start doing the mass deportations we were promised, all right? I want to see millions of illegal aliens get deported during the Trump presidency. Will that happen? Time will tell. I don't know. But in other interesting news, Elon Musk apparently is beefing with a top Trump trade advisor, Peter Navarro. And Scott Jennings had a thing or two to say about it. Let's check it out.
Than a sack of bricks. That was so unfair to bricks. I mean,
Well, Navarro, first of all, if I were going to start a business, I would call Elon. That's number one. Number two, Navarro was wrong. He was insulting Teslas. And Teslas are the most American-made car.
yeah, we can put that up. Actually.
And it's like one of the great American automotive manufacturing success stories. And so to go on so obviously he insulted.
It's kind of funny that we don't see American cars on there except for Tesla, Honda, Volkswagen. Are they more American sourced than American cars are, such as Ford and Chevrolet, GMC? If so, oof, it's pretty bad.
Elon's cars unfairly. Elon responded. I'm not such a global phenomenon. Elon is. He's into so many things, whether it's cars or space or the internet. I mean, you name it, he's everywhere. And so I think attacks like this were unavoidable. But I think the net positive of having him involved, both in the campaign and the government, is undeniable. And obviously, he's leaving soon. I mean, he's long said he's going to be here on a temporary basis.
I think very temporary now.
Well, look, but that was always the plan. And I just think the relentless attacks on him, both from inside some people who support the president and from outside, have frankly been unfair. I think he's a patriotic American. I think he's given up his time and his treasure and his trouble to elect someone and try to make him
Patriotic
successful.
immigrant to America.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, hope you guys enjoyed that. I know we did a little bit of extra there, but hey, it's fun. It's fun to see what kind of drama is going on with the Trump administration, whether it's the courts, members, kind of internally beefing with each other, or rather externally in the case of Elon and Navarro. There's some more on that. I enjoy it. I hope you did too. So with all that being said, folks, comment below. Let us know what you liked about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and hit that subscribe button. And that way, we'll be sure to see you again soon. God bless.